Welcome everyone today for our online voting demo. My name's Wendy. I'm president of the Vancouver Island Strata Owners Association. And I'm just going to talk for a quick moment. Why are we all here today? It's because we like our electronic meetings, but we realize there's some problems and we're looking for solutions. Where problems exist, we've got innovators coming up with those solutions. So today I want to introduce Craig and Ryan and Zdenek, you're going to say it properly in a minute, from Property Flute, and also to thank the Strata owners who helped us in the last few months with testing to get to this point.
Hi, Wendy. Yes. So I'm Craig Moore with Property Flute. We've got Ryan Grant here as well, and our other co-founders, Zdenek Filipek. We're going to discuss online voting and meeting management and take your questions ultimately. We'll be doing a demo of the platform. But before we get into that, we want to just talk about why we've done this and where it has taken us. So I'm a property manager. I'm a strata manager. I've done many meetings online, electronically for council members, but until recently, we haven't had a very good solution for dealing with general meetings. And the key with that is managing registration of owners and proxies, and also dealing with the voting. So why is that? What are the challenges that we have with online or electronic meetings? Well, we've got potentially owners with ownership of multiple units. We have proxies who might be representing multiple owners. You could have a combination of that. We've got owners who are proxy, and they might have multiple units and be proxy for multiple owners. So very challenging situations to deal with. As well, in mainly in commercial stratas, we've got fractional voting to deal with. I have seen it in residential stratas. It's very unusual, but it does occur. Dealing with quorum, registering voters and managing that quorum level can be a challenge. Also handling secret ballots. That's perhaps one of the greatest challenges we have. And it's certainly interesting to deal with online, but we've created a solution for that we feel is more than sufficient and should satisfy pretty much everybody who needs to feel comfortable that their ballot has been cast in secret. And lastly, big challenge can occur with a council election. Of course, many council elections are very straightforward and they're not difficult to deal with. But as soon as you get into precise counts or dealing with election of council members where there's more people who put their name forward than there are spots or some other variations, it becomes very complex. So dealing with that electronically needs a complex solution. So challenges with in-person meetings. I have seen challenges with attendance at in-person meetings. I've managed properties across the province, situations where you've got owners who live elsewhere and just simply aren't present to be in person. Or somebody has a challenge getting to the meeting and you want to provide for them to attend. So low attendance can be an issue with in-person meetings. Doing precise counting can be slow and cumbersome. Making sure you've got accurate counts as well in that sense. And then with secret ballots, if they're done properly, you've got a voting booth or some other method of ensuring owners that their votes have been cast in secret. So an online or electronic solution can help with all of those things. So why did we create the meeting management and voting platform that we have? Well, as we've said, it's potentially to improve owner participation. It did come out of the COVID-19 mandate to not gather together in groups. So this is where our effort began with when COVID-19 came on, and we've developed it over the last couple of years. And what we've accomplished is something that does assist you with compliance with the BC Strata Property Act. It helps to guide anyone who's running the platform through the meeting to be sure they don't miss things and that things are done properly. Also enabling the ability to have in-person and electronic attendance so that everybody's using the same platform, the same method of voting, whether they're attending in person or electronically. And then lastly, it's very nice. One thing with doing an electronic meeting is the potential to have results recorded accurately, precisely. And in our case, we're adding in that there's a full audit trail. So even during setup of the meeting, getting everything going, getting ready for the meeting to begin, and then through all of the voting, there's a full audit trail created that can be used at a later time for whatever reason it might need to be. We're going to go through a meeting on our platform, Property Flute, and in a moment I'll pass it over to Ryan. So what we're going to do here is enter the Strata, or I mean, potentially other communities can use this platform. Doesn't have to be a Strata, but we're focusing on the needs of a Strata corporation today. So we'll get the Strata name entered. We'll create the meeting. We'll set up the agenda and resolutions. We'll show you about entering unit numbers and strata lots. We'll get the owners entered, and we'll send out the voting platform notice by email so that people know how to log in and get their magic code to do so. Once we get the meeting started, we'll show you about registration and check-in. We'll determine that quorum has been met. We'll identify the chair, and then we'll proceed with voting, and lastly, a council election. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, and he'll run through a demonstration of Property Flute for you.
Thanks, Greg. Hello, everyone. Essentially, yes, today we're going to go over a demo meeting. It's going to be an AGM for a property called Island Grove that we're going to create. And then it's going to have 55 strata lot unit voting entitlement and a few residential and non-residential units. On the right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to log in as a voter. So you'll be able to see both what a meeting manager on the left side sees and then what a voter sees on the right side. And we're going to set up a bunch of proxies so that we can show you what that looks like when there's people that have multiple proxies or multiple units using the platform. So let's get started. So here in Property Flute on the left-hand side of the screen is the meeting management interface. When you first log in, you have to create what we call communities, which is just your strata. So we're going to add the strata that we're working with. And the community number is just strata plan number. So I put that in. There, so now we see we've added in the strata. Now we want to make a meeting for it. So on the meeting tab, we're going to create a meeting, and we can see down here is Island Grove. That's the one that we want to make a meeting for, and we want to use BC Strat Property Act as the jurisdiction. And then this is going to be the 2022 AGM. And the tier just means you need to select how many units are in this meeting. And for demo purposes, we'll just be using this one. And the start date. So the start and end date doesn't really matter to the system too much, but nonetheless, it's good on the electronic notice that's going to be mailed out to have a proper start date time. So here we go. We've created our meeting, and we're going to open it up to edit it and add our agenda and other items. Here on the overview page, we'll see that we are here with a community number. We got our community name, Island Grove, and the meeting number. So this meeting number is unique to this particular meeting, and that's a number that the voters are going to use when they go to log in at the time of the meeting. Bylaw resolutions, this is for mixed use stratas. So in this case, like we said today, we're going to have some residential and non-residential units. So we're going to turn that option on. So there we go. And we're going to set a board size. So this is used for the election. right? You always have a minimum, so we'll say 3 and a maximum 7 for our council. And then access privileges. So this is for if you have a large meeting or even a small meeting. But generally the large meetings is where this is really used. It's for when you want to have your assistants come in, right? If you're a property manager, you might have multiple assistants, or self-run strata, you might have other council members that are going to log into the system and help do check-in and other things. So here, because today we have lots of proxies, I'm going to have my co-founder Zenek log in as an assistant. And he's going to help me out with assigning the proxy assignments. Now let's set up our units, and then we're going to set up the owner profiles. So we're going to do a bulk import of the units, which can be done through a CSV file or copy pasting from a spreadsheet. So we have our lots. And the importer shows us here the data that was inside of the CSV file. And we need to tell the system what these columns mean. So here we have a lot number. Here we have a unit number. And this is the voting entitlement. And then this is the lot type. So here we have 50 units with some non-residential, some residential. And you can see that the non-residential here have fractional votes. We'll do review data. This gives us one last chance to go in and just tweak anything if we had any errors in our spreadsheet. Great, so that's imported there. Now we can see the system now has all the lots, but now we need to assign owner profiles to those lots. We'll go to the owners tab and we will import our owner profile. So this spreadsheet has many columns. Some of these columns aren't needed for this stage, but let's take a look here. So we need a name, an email, a phone number, and lots. So we will assign this one. This is the name. This one's the email. This is the phone number. And then this one is the lots. Now the system doesn't really need an email or a phone number. The email is only used for the electronic notice that goes out with a voting code. If somebody doesn't have an email address, the meeting manager can look up a voting code and then share that code with the person, however they wish, by mail or by phone. And then the phone number column is only here for reference. So when you're running the meeting, maybe people aren't showing up for whatever reason, and you knew that they were probably going to show up, so you can have their phone number there as a reference, but it's not required. Great, so there we go. You get one last second again to edit anything if you need to, and then you can save. So here we are. We have a nice list of all the owners, their profiles, and all the assigned lots that they have. As you can see, some people here have more than one lot. This person has unit 104 and unit 105. And if you did just want to enter the system manually instead of using a CSV, let's say you have a small community, you can always add in other profiles manually, or if for some reason there's another voter that just needs to be added, you can select what lot they're for, and you can put it in a name, and you can select if they're owner, tenant, or mortgagor, and then you have the email, phone number, and notes. Great, so let's go start adding some agenda items. So here we're going to add approval of the agenda, and it's going to be a majority vote. And then we're going to have some content. Now you can also add images and other things that you want here. It's a rich text editor, so you can add a bunch, but generally we keep it pretty simple, just some text. And we'll add a few more items. Approval operating budget we would want. And you also note there's this order option. So let's say you accidentally added some resolutions out of order and you want to reorder it, you can always come back and reorder things if you wanted, so that it can have proper placement. And we'll have a 3/4 vote. So down here, you can select the different vote types. You get majority, 80%, 3/4, unanimous, and bylaw amendments that you can do. So this one is a 3/4. Go. Perfect. And then we know, we'll pretend that we know that the current council wants to be re-elected again, potentially. They'll be up for election. So they've already agreed to allow their names to be put into the election. And so we'll just add them in now. And we're going to do it by election by ballot cast. So we have 3 different options, but we're going to go with the one that a lot of people are used to, which is by ballot cast. And we will add in their names. So it's going to be Hal, Ethel, Eddie, Charlie. Charlie has 2 units, but he said he'll like to be represented for Strata Lot 4. So here we have 4 nominees that have already said they wanted to be on. So we're just going to save it, save us a little time during the meeting. So now we've got our nice list here of agenda items, and we'll pretend that this is a few weeks before the meeting. We'll just take a quick preview. Gloss over the agenda. Everything looks good. This is what the voter would essentially see if they were to log in as a voter. You see a nice list of all the items that they're going to be voting on. And then we would email out the notice. So we're going to select meeting invitation, including voter's personal code. And here we're going to include the conference solution information, which will generally be Zoom that most people use as a conference. So I put in a little blurb here that includes a Zoom link for the voters to be joining. And we'll want to have a copy of this email sent to our meeting management account just for our records. And then you can select everybody here that should be getting a voter code. Now, obviously, the voters that don't have emails won't be getting a copy because they don't have an email. And the system even notifies you, right? When you go to do the preview before sending, it'll show you the preview, plus it tells you which voters don't have an email address in the system. So you'll have to find another way to get those people their voting code, right? And we can see here, this is the preview. It's going to say, please be sure to follow steps 1 and 2. Join the meeting first, and then sign into Property Flute with your voting code and the meeting number. And it gives them a nice link to click on to go to the voting screen. And then here's our recipients. They're going to be receiving the voting codes. And we sent it. And the system has sent it out to everybody. Everybody has received their code. That's supposed to get a code. We're going to start assigning proxies because we said that this sent out, and now it's being, we're waiting for the meeting, which starts in a couple of weeks. People have received their notice and they've said, oh, I actually want, I can't attend. I want to assign some proxies. So we're going to log into the system and show you guys how to assign the proxies. Looks like a bunch of people want Hal Roach to be their proxy. So I'm going to go through and set up all the people that have submitted in to the meeting manager to say, if they want Hal Roach to be their proxy. They've sent in their proxy form, and now we're going to set that up. And then my assistant Zenik is also going to log in on his side and also assign some proxies too. For Hal, it looks like Carol wants Hal to be her proxy. We've done that. And Vicky, so over here, you click the little proxy button and we find Hal, and then we can save it. Now, Tim, he also wants Hal to be the proxy. And Harvey wants Hal to be the proxy. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, that's great that you could easily add people that are owners. You can assign them to be a proxy, but what about people that are external? So if someone assigns someone that's an external entity, somebody that doesn't live in the strata, to be their proxy, that's handled as well through our non-owners tab. So you would come here and you can add in somebody that's external, and they will show up in the list, which then you can assign them as a proxy. So now we'll jump forward and say that it's time of the meeting. We've got some, proxies that were set up prior to the meeting and live during the meeting. You can also assign proxies that come in and want to be assigned. That's totally fine. It just helps if you set up some of them, the bulk of them in advance. So here we are on the left side again, meeting manager side. We're going to make the meeting accessible, which just means that voters are able to log into the system and just see the meeting agenda. They aren't allowed to do anything else. That's all they get to see. And then we're going to start the meeting. Great. So now we can see that Charlie Chaplin actually is already online, and May is online, and they've joined the Zoom conference line. They aren't checked in yet. They're just logged into the platform. And I'm going to log in as Hal on this one. Meeting number here and the voting code. And then there's a CAPTCHA that the voter has to say. There we go. So now I'm logged in. You can see here that a voter on the right-hand side, the voter gets to see what meeting that they're attending, right, for Island Grove. So they make sure, because sometimes they have multiple meetings on the same day. So it's good to ensure that they're in the right meeting signed in, and the schedule start time. And then they can see which lots that they own, which, as we can see, Hal owns lot 1, unit 101, and he has a voting entitlement or vote of 1, and he's not checked in yet. And then he also has all these proxy assignments assigned to him, right? Lot 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 49, and 50. And none of them are checked in yet. So he would join the Zoom meeting as well and announce that he's here during the check-in process, which we will do now. So I'll go back on the left-hand side of the screen as a meeting manager, and I'll start checking in people. So here's Hal. We're going to check in Hal. He said he's here. He's from lot 1, unit 101, here to check in, and he's got a bunch of proxies. So he said he's going to do online voting. So we're going to check him in as an online voter. And he said that he has these proxies, which we already have assigned to him in the system, and we're going to check him in for those lots. Now, if he had any extra proxies, we'd be able to go back and add them in, and then come back to the check-in and assign those to him. So now we saved it, and on the right-hand side, on Hal's voting screen, he would see, yes, he's being checked in for those lots, and he's ready for the voting when the voting round starts. So we'll go back on the left-hand side of the screen and check in the rest. So Charlie Chaplin said they're here. They're here for their lots 4 and 5. They said they're going to do online voting, and they've already said which lots that they're going to be checked in for. So we will check them in for all these lots. Great. And we will go down. Mo is online, and they've as well said they're going to be online voting. And they can choose here. So this owner, for example, there was two owners that own the same lot, 202. So, who are they proxying for? Well, they got a proxy form and says they're going to proxy for the owner Bud for Strata lot 11, unit 202. And this is our, turnout for the meeting is basically 3 voters. We'll actually add in a manual voter, just to show you what it looks like if there was somebody that attended, doesn't want to do online voting, but they want to attend the conference call and vote over the phone, and that's fully capable in the platform. So we'll just choose one person, Dean Martin. So he's going to be a manual voter over phone, and he's going to be checked in for his Strata lot. Perfect. So let's jump to the quorum. And if people arrive late, you can always check them in at any moment. So that's not a problem. For quorum, we see that the voting entitlement total of this strata is 55. And then currently it looks like we've got a count of 37, which is a 67.3% turnout, which is pretty good, right? Now to do, we have 55 divided by 3 to get our quorum, which is we need 18.33 voting entitlement to show up. And we definitely have that. We have 37, right? So we're above quorum. The system will alert you if you're below quorum. So right now the system knows we're above quorum, so everything's good. Now we can jump to electing the chair. And the chair, we know the president, Hal, said that he's okay to be chairing the meeting. And you'll see on the right-hand side as well, for the voter, it shows there's a section there, meeting chair name, so they know that Hal is the chair. It's all documented nicely. Now we'll go back on the left-hand side of the screen as a meeting manager and proceed to the voting. And you can see on the right-hand side, everyone gets a nice visual feedback saying, please wait for the next vote. So everyone understands that they're just there waiting for the voting rounds to start. So we'll go back as a meeting manager on the left. And this is the agenda. So we're going to go through the agenda. We're going to need to have approval of the agenda today. So we're going to motion for it. And people can select here. So I'll let the online voters submit their motion. There is also a capability for a manual voter, so that if somebody on the phone wanted to do it, they can motion as well by telling the meeting manager they want to motion. The system will automatically end the motioning when 2 people submit a motion. So it can happen really quickly, right? It just pops up on the screen and 2 people need to submit for the motion. So we can see here, we got Mo Howard from Strata Lot 13, Unit 204. Looks like they used the proxy, and Charlie Chaplin as well submitted for the motion. So the system automatically records it, which is really nice for your secretary. They don't have to be worried about getting that information down right away because the system has that information. Now we're going to open up this for voting in just regular mode, not in secret ballot. We'll do a secret ballot later. And now it's opened for voting. So on the right-hand side of the screen, as a voter, as Hal, we'll see that this popped up and I'm able to submit the votes for Hal's unit and the proxied units that Hal is controlling. So they've been submitted, and Hal also gets a chance if he wants to change the vote before the voting round ends. He can click the change vote button and he'd be able to change as long as the voting round has not ended. So on the left-hand side is meeting manager. We're going to see the sum. It's going up, and we can tell that almost everyone has submitted their votes. We can see who hasn't by clicking this little box button. And it shows that all these people that are checked in so far have submitted their vote. And we know there's one phone voter that was manual. So we're going to say that's how they wanted to vote. And we will announce that we're closing the voting round. You know, in 10 seconds, we're going to close a round. If anyone wants to make a change, you know, please do so. And now we're closing it. So it looks like we got majority vote for the approval of the agenda. So now we can move on to the next one. Approval of the minutes. We'll do a motion. Perfect. So we got these two people to submit, and we can open it up again. Now, as a voter, we can also see how they voted. So on the voting side here, we can see that as Hal, I submitted all these votes for this resolution item number 2. And I can see that, okay, I put no and no for these 2 strata lots, and I put yes for everyone else. Maybe I go, oh shoot, I actually should have put no for strata lot 49. They told me they didn't want that, so I can click change vote. And 49, I can say no. Good. And as long as the voting round is still open, I'm allowed to alter my vote. Now on the left, again, we've got 36 people that have submitted, and there's one that hasn't, which is the phone voter. So the phone voter, we would ask them how would they like to vote. They say yes. And we can see that everyone submitted, and we will end the voting round and announce it. We're now ending. Great. So looks like we did pass, but there were quite a few no's still. We're able to move on to the next item here, approval of operating budget. We'll open it up. Yes, yes, yes. Tim again doesn't like it. Harvey likes it. Actually, we'll say this one abstained. Great, so far we got 8.1, and the phone voter said that they approve it. And we can see again who submitted. We can refresh this and see if we got all the voters in. Some people haven't submitted yet. Again, we got 23.4. Perfect. We've got 37. That's great. And now we'll announce we're closing the round. So now we got the Comedy Lounge sound system. And we will motion for it. And they will need a 3/4 vote to pass this one. And someone said, oh, we want to have a secret ballot. So we're going to make this one a secret ballot because it's a little controversial. So in secret ballot mode, the only thing that a meeting manager is able to see is if people have submitted. They can only see if anyone has submitted it. So we will go through on the right as a voter. In secret ballot mode, when you go to submit your vote, this one's different than a regular vote because when you hit submit, it's going to ask the voter if they are sure they want to submit it because they can only submit the vote once, right? It says if they took a ballot, wrote it on paper, and put it in the box, right? And once it's in the box, you can't can't change your vote again, right? How are you going to get the paper out of the box? So once it's submitted, it's submitted. You can review it as many times as you want before submitting, but then once you submit it, that's it. It's in. Great. And you'll notice as well as on the voter screen here that for this resolution, once it's submitted, it does not even show the voter how they did it because it's in the ballot box, right? It's a secret. On the left, we will see that we have everyone did submit, and except for the phone voter. So for phone voters, how it works is generally you'll have a scrutineer. There'll be an assistant in the system, and they will work with the phone voter. So they would go into a private Zoom room, for example, and talk to the person, or the person would maybe email the scrutineer or send a Zoom chat message to the scrutineer. And then the scrutineer would, in the platform, submit for that person. Now we know everyone submitted. We have 37 votes. We'll announce that we're going to close it. And there we go. So looks like we got in favor just 50%, and looks like we have a few abstentions. And you can't see how they voted. So here you can see that people submitted their vote, can't see how they voted. For the other resolutions, as a meeting manager, you can see when somebody's after they submit and the voting round is closed. Let's look at this one. You can see how people voted, right? Because it's a regular style of voting. It's not secret ballot. Only the secret ballot one is truly secret. Now let's get on to the council election. This should be fun. We can see these are the nominees that we had previously, the council that said they wanted to be on again, potentially. So we're going to add in a few extra people from the floor that want to be in. Carol, and then Vicky as well, and Tim, and then Harvey. Harvey, there we go. Good. So we actually have 8 nominees this time. That'll be interesting. Great. And we will motion for it again. Here we go. Perfect. So it's in, and let's say they want secret ballot. So we'll do secret ballot for this. And on the right-hand side, as the voter again, now you can see, because we did an by ballot cast method, that there's check boxes. So they can, for this, for Hal's lot, unit 101, he's allowed to select the candidates that he wants. And he's allowed to select up to 7. Now, because there were 8 candidates, he's not allowed to select 8. He's only allowed to select 7. The system will not allow him to select 8. And then the other units that he's a proxy for. Perfect. He'll submit the votes. And since secret ballot, he can't change it once it's submitted. So he'll say yes. Great. So he submitted it. You can see it says secret there. Now on the left, we're going to collect the manual voter. So the scrutineer would go in and, talk with the voter and then select how they want to vote. Great. So you can now announce that you're going to close it. Perfect. So as a meeting manager, I get a few extra things I can see, which is the percentages. Let's take a look at the results as a voter on the right. They can only see if people got majority, right? So on the left-hand side, we will see here as a meeting manager that it looks like we got 7 out of the 8. And if there was a vote for all 8, that would be up to the chair to, if they want to run another election or how they want to do it. But nonetheless, the system just tells you if the candidates got a majority vote or not. So right now, the voters made it easy for us, and it looks like the 7 people, the maximum of the board size, got elected, and the chair would decide to announce that was the new elected council. Then maybe we want to do what we call a quick vote. It just gives you a nice pre-selected things that you can fill out quickly. So we'll say terminate the meeting and majority vote. And then people will be able to vote on it. Yes, everyone wants to end the meeting. And on the left, as meeting manager, I will take the phone voter. Let's just say for some reason somebody isn't submitting their vote. You can announce that you're closing the voting round even if there's less than the total number of people that are checked in. It's up to them to get in their vote within the time frame that you allot. So we announce we're going to be ending the voting on this round. So it's done. Now we can terminate the meeting there, and it'll check out all the voters. So on the right-hand side, the meeting was terminated, and the voter can just see any of the results and gets to also see the agenda. That's it from me. Back to you, Wendy.
So we have a great question in the Q&A.
Sure.
I'd love for you to show. So you'll have to reopen the meeting.
Okay.
But someone is asking, what if there's amendment to a resolution?
Yeah, so now we want a motion again, right? Operating budget. Right.
We've started talking about the operating budget. There's a little bit of, disagreement on whether we should pay that much for snow shoveling.
Yes.
So Jonathan wants to put forward an amendment. So
Okay.
You do that as a quick vote,
Yes,
right?
quick vote. Yep.
So Ryan, I'll just jump in there.
Sure.
We would put in amendment of operating budget, snow removal to decrease to 5,000 from 10,000, for example. So you can be as descriptive there as you need to be.
So now we can see that first we had to motion for the original one, the approval, right? And somebody said they don't like it. So we made the amendment. And before voting, we open up the motion again for that one to discuss. And everyone's still deliberating now, right?
Right.
we're talking, and then the voting round hasn't opened yet. It's up to the chair to finally open it once they're done deliberating and ready to vote.
Get your motion in second to open discussion, and then the chair lets that go on as long as they wish, and then voting takes place. So there should always be time for discussion before the vote takes place.
And then, yeah, you can open it up for voting at that point and get people to vote how they wish. And then you would close the voting round, right? And you would see if it passed or not.
The meeting manager or the chair would say, now we'll vote on the operating budget as amended. And it's worth saying that there can be any number of amendments. There's no limit to how many amendments to any resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, you just can create more quick votes and type in whatever you need to type and order it however you wish. Any voting types that you want, right? So everything can be done on the fly.
That's great.
Awesome.
I saw that somebody mentioned perhaps this doesn't apply very well for larger strata corporations, but we actually created this platform with large stratas in mind. So it's pretty easy to search for somebody by their unit number, strata lot number, by their name. And with just a very small amount of practice, you can flip through this very, very quickly. The advantage of using this with a large strata is tabulation and just managing all the people. If you can imagine doing a precise count for a strata with 100, 200, 300 or more voters, that's a lot of effort potentially.
Yeah, and I think the flip to that question, Craig, that we might have missed is all of those people who are in person in the room. When you checked in, you asked, do they want to vote online or do they want to vote manually? So anybody who's in the room who has their smartphone or a tablet,
yes,
would have checked in saying they wanted to vote online. And even though they're sitting there in the room, they could cast their votes online. So I think that is a way to cut down how long it takes to have those votes registered for people who are sitting in the room. Okay, well, I want to say on behalf of AZOA, thank you so much, Craig, Ryan, and Zenik for joining us today. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Wendy.
everyone.